The letter arrived on a rainy Tuesday, folded 3 times and sealed with a sticker shaped like a tiny lightning bolt. To Maya, it read on the envelope, in a hand that looked both careful and hurried. Inside was a single card. You've misplaced a key, but it isn't made of metal. Come to the old conservatory at sunset. Bring your curiosity. A friend Maya almost laughed. A prank, surely. But that week her brain felt foggy like a window smudged by fingerprints she couldn't wipe clean. She was 29, a translator who loved language, yet lately words were slow to come, names slipped away, and sleep felt thin as paper. The invitation was absurd. It was also irresistible. At sunset, she found the conservatory door ajar. Damp air breathed out from the palms and ferns inside. Somewhere a piano was being tuned. "Hello," she called. A figure appeared from behind a curtain of ivy. An older woman with silver hair, dark eyes, and the kind of posture that made you think of dancers and cats. "You're on time," the woman said. "That's a good sign." "Who are you?" "Lyra," she said. "I repair pianos, grow orchids, and teach nervous systems how to feel young." She motioned Maya closer. "You came because your mind is tired." Maya didn't deny it. "Doctor." Lyra pointed to a blank space on the conservatory wall where vines had been trained into a frame. "I used to keep a map here," she said. A map for wandering minds, not of streets, but of habits. It led anyone who followed it to a different kind of youth, the kind that lives behind the eyes. "If you're willing, we'll draw it again. You'll walk it as we make it." "A map?" Maya echoed. "To make my brain young?" "Not young as in childish, Doctor." Lyra said, "Young as in flexible, curious, strong enough to keep learning. This isn't magic. It's practice." She reached into her pocket and placed a pebble in Maya's palm. The pebble was smoothed by time and warm from the doctor's hand. "Each time you learn a practice, you'll drop a pebble into the fountain out back. When the circle at the bottom is full, you'll have rebuilt what you lost." Maya turned the pebble over. "What's the first practice?" "Doctor?" Lyra smiled. "We start with movement. Chapter 1, footsteps waked the forest they met at dawn by the river path. The city still slept, mist lifted from the water like breath." "Doctor." Lyra laced her shoes and began to walk, not quickly, but with a rhythm that matched the morning. "Your brain is an electricity garden," she said. "When you move your body, the garden gets rain. Exercise? Esitsu more. Deadlines. Deadlines steal," the doctor said, "but walking steals back." They crossed a footbridge, the planks creaking under their steps. "Every time your heel strikes the ground, your heart answers. Blood carries oxygen. Leaves speak to our lungs. Lungs carry truths to our neurons. You want a younger mind? Let your body teach it how." They tried intervals, 3 minutes brisk, 1 minute easy. Maya's chest warmed. Her shoulders loosened. After 20 minutes, the world's edges looked cleaner. Words for the sky arrived in 2 languages at once, Azure, Azuro. "People think brain work happens only in chairs," Dr. Lyra said. "But ideas love motion. Walk to prepare. Walk to digest. Walk to repair. No need for gyms, only shoes and sky. Dance if you like. Swim. Stretch on the living room floor. The shape matters less than the habit." Maya laughed despite herself when a jogger's dog trotted over to say hello. "So I just move. 30 minutes most days. More when life allows. Less when it doesn't, but never nothing." Back at the conservatory, Maya dropped her pebble into the fountain. It rang against the stone like a note. Chapter 2, The Kitchen Compass. The next lesson happened over a cutting board. The conservatory contained a tiny kitchen with a window full of basil. Dr. Lara slid a basket across the counter. dark leafy greens, a small jar of walnuts, a shard of dark chocolate, an avocado fat with promise, a bottle of olive oil that smelled like sunlight. Your brain, she said, is the hungriest organ in your body. It builds thoughts from what you feed it. So pizza is not poetry? Maya quipped. Pizza can be love, Lyra allowed, but let's write better verses. She held up a fillet of salmon. Omega-3s are like cushioning for your neurons, keeping their membranes supple so signals travel smoothly. She touched the blueberries. Antioxidants step between your cells and the sparks that would burn them. Olive oil is a lullaby for inflammation. They cooked simply, salmon seared in a hot pan, greens wilted with garlic, a handful of blueberries tumbled across Greek yogurt, a square of chocolate shared like a secret. And water, Lyra added, handing Maya a glass. Your brain is more water than you expect. Dehydrate it, and it complains in whispers. Fog, fatigue, a headache shaped like a question mark. What should I avoid? Maya asked. Not forever. Just less of, Lyra said. Refined sugars, ultra-processed snacks that crunch like confetti but leave the mind dull. Think of food as setting the stage. A brilliant actor can't perform in a bad theater. After they ate, Maya felt a steadiness she hadn't noticed in months, a quiet hum instead of a rattle. The second pebble chimed on the stone. Chapter 3, The Night's Workshop. Tonight, Dr. Lyra said, we will practice the oldest medicine, sleep. Maya grimaced. I sleep, technically, with my phone glowing on the pillow. When you sleep, she said softly, the brain is not idle. It is a night crew in reflective vests. They hose down the streets, flush away waste, archive the day's files, fix potholes in memory. Without sleep, yesterday piles up and today has nowhere to stand. They dimmed lamps. Lyra guided Maya through a ritual. Screens off an hour before bed, a cup of warm tea instead of scrolling, a few stretches until the spine side, a notebook open to uncurl the day's worries onto paper so they wouldn't prowl the mattress. They set the room cool and quiet. 7 to 9 hours, Lyra murmured. Not perfection, but protection. Let your brain do its maintenance. In the morning you'll find the room swept. Maya slept. She dreamed of rivers carrying glittering debris away to sea. When she woke, her head felt like a room with the windows thrown open. She smiled into her pillow. Chapter 4, The Library of Forever. On a rainy afternoon, Lyra met Maya at the public library. This place, she said, sweeping her hand at the shelves, is a gym disguised as paper. They wandered from travelogues to cookbooks to biographies. Lyra pulled down a primer on astronomy and a collection of poems. Your brain is not a machine that rusts with age. It is an ecosystem. Learning is rainfall. Each new subject is a different cloud. Maya had always loved languages, but today she borrowed a book on gardening and a beginner's guide to chess. Why chess? Because it teaches planning, Lyra said. Not just what to do now, but what might matter 3 moves from now. They sat by a window and tried a few openings on a scratched board. Lyra didn't lecture, she asked questions. What do you see? What else could you try? How would you explain your move to someone else? Teaching makes the mind remember, she said as they packed up. When you explain, you rearrange knowledge until it stands on its own. Maya looked at her pile of books and felt 10 years younger, not because her age had changed, but because her curiosity had. The fourth pebble struck the stone like rain beginning. Chapter 5, Choir of Voices. Maya had been drifting toward isolation, deadlines, the comfort of silence, the exhaustion of small talk. Lyra interrupted that quiet drift. We are made for each other, the doctor said, leading Maya into a cafe that hummed with the low roar of conversation. Brains don't grow well alone. They sat at a big table where strangers were debating whether the universe preferred disclosure or mystery. Lyra introduced Maya as a translator of ideas. The group laughed and welcomed her. At first, Maya merely listened. Then someone asked her to explain how a word in one language becomes itself in another. She found herself gesturing, searching for metaphors, bridges, keys, shadows, and the group leaned in, not to judge, but to share the joy of thinking. See? Lara said as they left. Connection is fertilizer. Laughter lowers stress. Empathy lubricates understanding. Talk with people who make you curious. Spend less time in loops of complaint. Seek those who play with ideas who risk respectful disagreement. Your brain learns what your company practices. When Maya dropped the fifth pebble into the fountain, she thought she heard distant clapping. Chapter 6. The Long Conversation. Texting is a tool, Lyra said, but it can't carry a soul. She handed Maya a picnic basket. We're going to have a real conversation. They met Maya's father in the park. For years, their talks had been efficient but shallow updates, weather, mutual assurances that everything was fine. Today they walked, ate sandwiches, and let quiet stretch long enough for truth to arrive. Her father spoke about the year his own mother began to forget names, how he had been terrified he would follow her path. Maya admitted she was afraid of the same fog, of losing the noun mid-sentence, the appointment, the thread of a thought that matters. They cried in the shade and then laughed at themselves for crying. On the way home, Maya felt something untied within her. That, Lyra said, was a full workout, listening, searching for words, holding emotions without dropping them. Real conversations keep us elastic. Chapter 7, Circles Within Circles. Lyra led Maya to a community center painted sea green. A hand-lettered sign read, Tuesday Book Club. Inside, 15 chairs formed a circle. People of every age and accent trickled in. They were reading a novel about a woman who paints dreams. The chair of the club, a retired plumber named Esther, asked everyone to choose one line that felt like a mirror. When Maya read hers, her voice broke. The group waited with gentle attention, and in that silence she understood the courage of ordinary people who show up month after month to talk honestly about meaning. Loneliness accelerates aging, Lyra said afterward. Belonging slows it. Join clubs, teams, choirs, volunteer crews, even online communities with real conversation. Let your brain memorize names, faces, stories. Make promises to show up, then keep them. The seventh pebble sounded like a heartbeat when it fell. Chapter 8, The Skill of Listening with Your Whole Face. Lyra invited Maya to the conservatory's little side room. 2 chairs, a small table with a bell. We'll practice deep listening, Lyra said. Not listening so you can answer. Listening so another person can discover themselves. They took turns telling a story and listening. What did you hope for? Where did you feel that in your body? Maya was surprised at how difficult silence felt, and how rich. She noticed micro-expressions, pauses shaped like commas, the way Lyra's hands folded when words were heavy. Soon Maya could almost hear the weight a sentence carried before it landed. Empathy, Lyra said, lights up a cathedral in your brain. It's not softness, it's strength. It teaches your mind flexibility, how to imagine life beyond your own outline. Maya dropped the 8th pebble while thinking of the friends she would call and really listen to. Chapter 9, A Morning Ritual of Small Son's Habits. Lyra announced one morning, are the furniture of the mind. Arrange them with care. On the first page, 3 bright things. Each morning, Lyra said, before you open the door of the world, notice 3 things you're grateful for. They can be small. The smell of oranges. A text from a friend who spells your name right. The quiet marigold waiting outside your window. Maya was skeptical. It sounded too simple. But when she tried it, something shifted. Gratitude felt like turning on a light in a room she had forgotten she could enter. Over days, the practice trained her attention to scan for good the way a musician hears a key change. She wasn't becoming naive. She was balancing her newsfeed. Her mind felt less like a battlefield and more like a field where things could grow. The ninth pebble landed on the stone with a confident tap. Chapter 10, The Pause That Refreshes the Page. Maya had a habit of working until her eyes blurred, then rewarding herself with a digital avalanche. Lyra intervened. "Your brain isn't a locomotive," she said. "It's a tide. It needs in and out." They set a timer, 50 minutes of deep work, then a 5-minute break. But the break wasn't for scrolling. It was for breathing, stretching, a slow look at the sky, a glass of water, a walk to the window to watch pigeons negotiate their treaties. The first day, Maya protested. "It's silly to stop when I'm in the middle." "The middle is exactly when to stop," Lyra said, "so your mind returns eager." By the end of the week, Maya noticed she could focus longer and forget less. The little breaks felt like alleyways where her brain could whisper solutions it had been rehearsing in secret. The 10th pebble felt lighter than the rest. Chapter 11, Games with Purpose. One Saturday, the conservatory filled with boards and cards and puzzles stacked like little cities. "Play," Lyra commanded. They tried crosswords, logic riddles, and a strategy game in which wooden tiles built kingdoms. At first, Maya reached for her phone whenever she felt stuck, but Lyra raised an eyebrow and she put it down, letting patience have its turn. The click that comes when a puzzle yields the sudden alignment of possibility was delicious. "These games," Lyra said, "ask your brain to stretch. Memory, planning, attention, flexibility. 10 minutes a day is enough if you keep the habit. Don't confuse numbing with training." She gestured toward the window where a group of kids were assembling a jigsaw on the floor. "Fun isn't frivolous. It's how the brain agrees to practice." Pebble 11 rang like laughter when it fell into the fountain. Chapter 12, The Water Lesson. On a thunderous afternoon, Lyra filled 2 identical glasses and set them on the table. She slipped a single raisin into one and nothing into the other. By evening, she said, "Tell me the difference." Maya checked an hour later. The raisin had plumped. By nightfall, it was twice itself, soft as a secret restored. "Your brain is the raisin," Lyra said. "Dehydration shrivels attention. Headaches, irritability, fog. Keep a bottle nearby and treat sips like punctuation, commas in your day." It was the smallest, kindest habit Maya had ever adopted. Pebble 12 sounded like rain on a roof. Chapter 13, The Evening Gatekeeper with Sleep Rituals in Place. Lyra said, "We'll add a gatekeeper." "What does a gatekeeper do?" Maya asked. "Decides what may enter the night," Lyra answered. They made a short checklist for evening. Dim lights after 9, write down the 3 big worries circling like goals, choose a comforting sentence to repeat as the body settles. "I can rest now, morning will hold me." Place the phone in a drawer like a child tucked into bed. Read a few pages of something gentle before lights out. "Your mind needs closure," Lyra said. "Not a cliffhanger." Maya slept more easily. Dreams came like postcards, vivid but brief. Pebble 13 slipped from her fingers with a grateful sigh. Chapter 14, The Apprenticeship of Curiosity. On the first frost of winter, Lyra handed Maya a cheap ukulele and a set of stickers shaped like stars. "Pick one song," she said, "and practice for 10 minutes a day. When you stop daily, the stars stop too." Maya felt ridiculous. She had never played any instrument besides the squarish keyboard of her laptop. Her fingertips stung the first week. Her strumming was an argument instead of a rhythm, but by the 3rd week, something changed. The shapes found her hands. The melody grew brave enough to leave the room with her. "Learning at any age," Lyra said, "is proof that time doesn't own you. The brain continues to wire itself where curiosity walks. New sounds, new words, new recipes, new routes through the city. Every novelty is a reminder that flexibility is youth." Pebble 14 was star sticker small and full of music. Chapter 15, Teach to Remember. Choose something you've learned recently, Lyra said, and pass it on. Maya chose the chess opening she liked best, the quiet one that turns sharp if you push it. She taught it to a neighbor boy who had just discovered knights and their curious L-shaped leaps. In teaching, she clarified what she knew and saw the gaps. The boy surprised her with a question she couldn't answer, and that night she looked up the reply, happy to be a student again. Teaching is generosity, yes, Lyra said, but it's also selfish in the sweetest way. It presses the lessons deeper into you. The 15th pebble was placed with ceremony. The circle at the bottom of the fountain was almost full, one empty space like a missing tooth. Chapter 16. The Storm and the Bridge Life, Being Life, tested the map. Maya's mother fell and broke a hip. Hospitals smell like worry and disinfectant. They steal sleep and appetite. 4 days Maya lived between waiting room chairs and corridor vending machines. The old fog returned at the edges of her thoughts. One evening, exhausted, she called Lyra. "It's not working," Maya said. "I can't hold all the pieces." Lyra's voice was calm. "The map isn't a cage. It's a bridge to cross again and again. In crisis, choose the smallest plank." "What plank?" Maya asked. "Feet and breath," Lyra said. "Walk the halls for 10 minutes. Drink a glass of water. Write 3 lines in your yellow notebook. Gratitude for the nurse with the green glasses, the way your mother's hand rested easy when she slept, the sound of rain on the parking lot roof. And sleep even for 90 minutes. Your brain will hold you together while you rest." Maya did exactly that. It wasn't dramatic. It was enough. By morning, she could think again, a little. When her mother returned home to heal, Maya returned to the conservatory, thinner but steadier. "You crossed a storm," Lyra said. "Storms don't prove the bridge failed. They prove the bridge was essential." She placed the 16th pebble herself. Chapter 17, The Scientist's Garden Spring came muscular and green. Lyra took Maya to a research garden on the edge of the city where students tested soil and sunlight. "This is what we do inside too," Lyra said, kneeling by a plot of experimental beans. "We test conditions. We watch what grows. We adjust." They kept a simple log for a month, movement, what kind, how long, how it felt afterward. Food, not calories, but colors and sources, leafy, bright, whole. Sleep, hours, quality, the rituals that helped. Learning, what new path did curiosity take today? Connection, who did I talk with that made me more myself? Breaks, did I pause like the tide? Gratitude, 3 small suns. Patterns emerged. Days when Maya moved in the morning, her mind was friendlier by noon. When she ate well, she didn't reach for sugar panics. When she went to bed at the same time for a week, dreams turned generous and mornings turned clear. She started to feel like a colleague of her own brain rather than its boss or its hostage. The Pebble 17 was spotted with the dirt of the garden and smelled faintly of mint. Chapter 18, The Senses, Our Gates, the conservatory, had always smelled good. Damp earth, citrus blossoms, a drift of rosemary. One day, Lyra blindfolded Maya and led her by the hand. "You think with more than your thoughts," Lyra said. "Your senses are gates into the mind. Guard them." They walked slowly. Maya named what she noticed without sight: the coolness of shade under wide leaves, the sour sweet teas of lemon, the fizz of a fountain, the rasp of clay underfoot. When Lyra removed the blindfold, colors looked louder. "Notice what you watch," Lyra said. "What you listen to. What you place in your mouth and on your skin. Trash in, trash out. Computers taught us that. But the reverse is also true. Choose music that repairs. Stories that strengthen. Company that softens what is hard and fortifies what is tender." Maya promised herself fewer doom scrolls and more deliberate seeing. Pebble 18 dropped like a tiny cymbal crash. Chapter 19. The day of silence and laughter, Lyra declared a festival. Quiet morning, loud evening. They began with silence, no phone, no talking until noon. Maya walked by the river, counted her footsteps, watched the wake of a ferry unravel like thread behind a needle. Thoughts slowed enough that shy ideas crept from the margins. She wrote 3 pages in a notebook without stopping and was surprised by what her own hand knew. That night they gathered a motley crew. Book club friends, cafe debaters, the neighbor boy with the knife, Maya's father, the nurse with green glasses. They ate simple food, told stories that made them wheeze with laughter, and played charades until a retired plumber pulled a hamstring acting out Lighthouse. This, Lyra said, looking around at the happy chaos, is brain medicine, balancing solitude and society. Silence to hear yourself. Laughter to remember you're not alone. Pebble 19 had glitter on it from the party. Chapter 20. The Traveler's Test. Maya's work sent her across oceans. Travel scrambles routines like eggs. Airports are machines for forgetting good habits. Lyra turned it into a test. Pack your map, she said. Tiny versions. So Maya walked in terminals with her suitcase as a partner. She chose water over soda and nuts over neon snacks. She kept screen light out of hotel beds. She did 10 minutes of ukulele practice beside windows that looked out over unfamiliar roofs. She explored museums to let her curiosity graze. She called home for long, real conversations across time zones. When jet lag dragged her limbs, she forgave herself and tried again the next day. The map wasn't a list to fail, but a set of friendly doors she could open wherever she found them. Pebble 20 crossed the Atlantic in her coat pocket before it met the fountain. Chapter 21. The Mentor's Secret. One evening, Lyra led Maya to a locked room she had never noticed. Lyra unscrewed the lids one by one and let Maya breathe each in. The seeds you plant daily are the forest you'll walk in later, Lyra said. I don't own a secret elixir. I only learned to plant on purpose. Maya asked, and what about the days I do none of it? The days I eat the wrong things, skip the walk, scroll to stupid o'clock, forget every bright thing? Lyra smiled. Then you practice forgiveness first. Shame turns the brain small. Youth, the kind we want, lives inside trying again. Teach them the map. Maya invited her father, the neighbor boy, and a colleague who whispered that her mind felt broken. They met under the conservatory's glass ribs, and Maya told them everything Lyra had taught her. Movement as rain, food as stage, sleep as night crew, learning as rainfall, connection as fertilizer, gratitude as morning light, breaks as tides, games as playful practice, water as punctuation, senses as gates, teaching as glue, forgiveness as the key hidden under the mat. They laughed and they cried, like people do when they remember they're alive. The colleague said the word broken felt too hard now. She replaced it with tired. Tired things can be cared for. Broken things feel like a verdict. Lyra listened from the back with her arms folded and her smile small but unstoppable. Look at you, she said when it was over. You taught and you learned at the same time. Without electricity, the conservatory took on the silence of a sleeping animal. Lyra and Maya lit candles and told stories about the times they had felt old and the moments when youth had returned for no good reason at all. That's, Lyra said. I was sure I'd lost my edge. I couldn't hold a thought long enough to examine it. I sat on a bench and watched people walk dogs that looked like their eyebrows. I took 30 breaths and counted them like sheep. I ate an orange with a knife and fork, which is ridiculous, but it made me pay attention. By the time I finished, I had found a path to the sentence I needed. Attention is a candle. The more you practice lighting it, the easier it is to light in the dark. Maya told a story about translating a poem that refused to cross the river into another language. She took a break, watered her plants, played a clumsy song on the ukulele, and when she returned, the poem had built itself a bridge. They slept on the floor in a drift of blankets. In the morning, the power returned, but they kept moving slowly for an extra hour just to honor the lesson. Pebble 23 had a soot mark that wouldn't wash off. Chapter 24, The Old Man by the Sea. On the longest day of summer, Maya took a train to the coast. An old man sat on a bench overlooking the harbor, feeding gulls with a crust of bread. He told her he was 92 and that his favorite word was yet. People say, "I can't do that," he said, tossing crumbs like confetti to the wind. They forget to add yet. I can't walk that far, yet. I don't understand, yet. My brain feels slow, yet. Yet is a young word. I walk until the gulls get bored of me. I drink water like it's gossip. I cook my own food, even if it's ugly. I learn the names of every new neighbor. I nap like a cat. I read recipes for dishes I'm too lazy to make. I play checkers with a boy who beats me, and I pretend to be furious. He grinned. And I forgive myself when I turn into a gremlin. When Maya returned to the city, the 24th pebble wore a thin layer of salt. Chapter 25, The Day of the Map. Look, Lyra said, pointing to the bare frame on the wall where vines had been trained years ago. It's time. Lyra tied twine from nail to nail and wove the path with small tags. Each tag held a word: move the river that runs through every day. Nourish, colors on a plate, fats that cushion, water that sings. Sleep, the night crew sweeping streets. Learn, rainfall over curious fields. Connect, gardens thriving side by side. Converse, long walks for language to stretch its legs. Belong, circles that return your name to you. Listen, whole face attention, bells between sentences. Thank, three small suns at dawn. Pause, tides, not trains. Play, puzzles as playgrounds. Hydrate, commas in the story. Guard the gates, choose beauty, limit poison. Learn again, the apprenticeship that never ends. Teach, glue for memory and kindness for the world. Forgive, the key under the mat for when you lock yourself out. The path crossed itself, doubled back, and spiraled like galaxies. A map, Lyra said, isn't a line. It's a dance you keep learning. They carried the final pebble to the fountain. The circle at the bottom was full now. Lyra nodded to Maya. Whatever happens next, stress, joy, boredom, loss, this is yours. Not perfect, but practiced. Not a cure, but a craft. Maya let the last pebble fall. The sound was not a note, but a chord ringing up into the glassy ribs of the conservatory, out through the leaves, and into the city's evening. Letters to a future self. Months later, Maya wrote a letter to the version of herself who would someday feel old again. Dear future me, you will want to quit. Don't. Walk instead. If it's raining, walk inside. If your feet ache, move your arms. If your mind argues, let it talk while you move. Movement is the first door. Feed yourself like you are in love with the person you're becoming. Drink water even when you are not thirsty. Sleep as if your thoughts depend on it, because they do. Keep learning things that make you feel ridiculous, bad scales on a ukulele, verbs in a language you barely speak, the names of clouds. Laugh with people who tilt your head toward wonder. When the world is loud, find a quiet bench and count 30 breaths. Teach the map to someone else. It will remind you that you know the way, and when you fail, and you will because you're human, practice forgiveness quickly. Forgiveness is not an eraser. It is a door back in. Love, Monsieur Maya folded the letter, sealed it with a lightning bolt sticker, and slid it into a book she knew she would open again. In the corner of the conservatory, Dr. Lyra tuned the piano, tightening each string until it sang true. The map on the wall shadowed them both like a constellation they had drawn into being. Outside, the city moved, heels on pavement, bike bells, buses sighing, friends calling to each other from opposite sides of the street. Under it all, In a fountain that knew the sound of many small promises kept, the pebbles rested and did their silent work, remembering. The map in short one. Move daily, walk, dance, stretch, swim. Your body's rhythm powers your brain's clarity. Nourish wisely. Favor leafy greens, berries, nuts and seeds, good oils, fatty fish, and a little dark chocolate. Drink water. Sleep deeply. Guard your evenings. Let the night crew clean and file. Keep learning. New skills, new subjects, new perspectives. Treat curiosity like a muscle. Connect often. Laughter, empathy, and real conversations are neurological gold. 6. Belong. Join circles that meet regularly, book clubs, classes, teams. Show up. 7. Listen fully. Practice deep listening and empathy. Ask open questions. 8. Practice gratitude. 3 small suns every morning. 9. Take brain breaks. Work in tides. Breathe. Stretch. Look at the sky. 10. Play smart games. Puzzles and strategy keep mental muscles strong. 11. Hydrate. Treat sips as punctuation. Guard your senses. Curate inputs, what you watch, hear, taste, and touch. 13. Build evening rituals. Dim lights, write worries, read, rest. 14. Learn again. Instruments, languages, crafts. The beginner's mind is a fountain of youth. 15. Teach others. Teaching seals learning and spreads light. 16. Forgive often. Begin again. That's the youngest habit of all. This story weaves practical practices into a narrative so that the steps stick, not just as advice, but as scenes your mind can revisit. If you need to remember one thing, remember this: youth lives where curiosity, compassion, and consistency meet. Keep them company and your brain will feel at home at every age.